There is a legend whispered in the salt-laced winds of every ocean. Sailors speak of it in hushed tones, eyes darting to the horizon as if the mere mention might summon it from the deep. It is not a ship of flesh and timber, they say, but a vessel of curse and consequence, doomed to sail forever, never to make port, never to rest. Its name, the Flying Dutchman. Unlike the Santa Maria or the HMS Victory, the Flying Dutchman was never recorded in ship registries, never launched with fanfare, never armed for battle or laden with cargo. And yet, for over 3 centuries, it has haunted the collective imagination of seafarers, writers, composers, and dreamers. It appears in storm clouds and calm seas alike, sometimes as a warning, sometimes as an omen, always as a mystery. But what if this phantom had a beginning? What if, beneath the layers of myth, there was once a real ship, a Dutch East Indiaman, proud and swift, that vanished into legend not because it sank, but because it refused to turn back? This is not a tale of verified history, for the Flying Dutchman leaves no wreckage, no logbooks, no survivors. Instead, it is a journey through the fog of maritime folklore, tracing how a single story, born in the golden age of sail, grew into a universal symbol of obsession, punishment, and eternal wandering. We will follow its echoes from the storm-racked Cape of Good Hope to the opera houses of Europe, from ghostly sightings in the 19th century to its rebirth in modern cinema. So close your eyes, dear listener. Let the creak of rigging and the sigh of distant waves carry you into the realm between fact and fable, where one ship sails on forever. To understand the birth of the Flying Dutchman, we must first sail into the world that gave him life, the Dutch Republic of the 17th century. A time when the Netherlands ruled the waves not with cannons alone, but with commerce, courage, and cunning. This was the Gouden Eeuw, the Golden Age. Fresh from throwing off Spanish rule, the Dutch had built an empire not of conquest, but of trade. At its heart stood the Verenigde Oostindische Compagnie, or VOC, the Dutch East India Company, history's first multinational corporation and, for a time, the wealthiest enterprise the world had ever seen. The VOC's ships, known as Floyds or East Indiamen, were marvels of efficiency. Designed for maximum cargo capacity with minimal crew, they carried spices, silks, porcelain, and tea from the East Indies, modern-day Indonesia, back to Amsterdam, where a single voyage could yield profits of 400%. But the journey was perilous. The route stretched over 12,000 nautical miles, and the most dreaded leg was the passage around the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa. Here, the Atlantic and Indian Oceans collide in a maelstrom of wind and current. Storms rage for weeks. Fog swallows ships whole, and the coast, jagged, uncharted, and littered with reefs, earned the grim nickname the Sailor's Graveyard. To round the Cape was to tempt fate. Many ships never returned. It was in this crucible of danger and ambition that the legend of the Flying Dutchman was forged. Not from a single event, but from the collective dread of men who knew that, out here, the sea showed no mercy, and neither did time. There is no single first sighting of the Flying Dutchman, but the earliest known written account appears in 1795 in a voyage to Botany Bay by George Barrington, a former pickpocket-turned colonial chronicler. He recounts a tale told by sailors of a ghost ship seen off the Cape, doomed to beat about the Cape forever. But the legend likely began much earlier, perhaps as early as the late 1600s. Maritime historians believe it evolved from real incidents involving Dutch captains who, in their determination to round the Cape quickly, ignored warnings, defied nature, and sometimes perished for their pride. The most famous candidate for the real Flying Dutchman is Captain Bernard Fokke, or Fock, a 17th century VOC skipper renowned for his astonishing speed on the Amsterdam-Java route. Rumors swirled that he must have made a pact with the devil to achieve such impossible voyages. Foker's reputation for recklessness and supernatural swiftness made him a perfect seed for myth. Another version speaks of a captain who, during a violent storm near the Cape, swore he would round the point even if it took until Judgment Day, a blasphemous oath that damned him and his crew to sail eternally. Over time, these fragments fused into a single, haunting narrative. A Dutch merchantman, caught in a tempest, refuses to turn back. The captain defies God, nature, and reason. As punishment, he and his ship are cursed to sail the oceans until the end of time, appearing only to those on the brink of disaster. Notably, the ship was never named De Vliegende Hollander in early accounts. That name emerged later. Originally, it was simply the Dutchman, a spectral reminder that no man, however bold, is master of the sea. Since the Flying Dutchman is a phantom, it was never built, but sailors and storytellers gave it a form. In their minds, it was always a Dutch East Indiaman of the late 17th century, a three-masted, square-rigged vessel, 40 to 50 meters long, with high stern castle adorned with ornate carvings of lions, mermaids, and the VOC monogram. Its hull would have been painted black or dark green with red trim, a common VOC scheme. It carried 20 to 30 cannons, not for war, but for defense against pirates and rival empires. Its crew numbered 100 to 200. Sailors, soldiers, merchants, and officers, all now spectral, pale as sea foam, with hollow eyes and tattered uniforms. The ship's sails were always tattered, yet impossibly full, billowing in winds no living sailor could feel. Its lanterns burned with an eerie green or blue flame, visible even in daylight. And it moved with unnatural speed, appearing on the horizon one moment, vanishing the next, sometimes sailing against the wind or even upside down in the clouds. A phenomenon now understood as a Fata Morgana mirage, but once taken as proof of the supernatural. In legend, the Flying Dutchman does not attack. Instead, it haunts. It drifts alongside real ships, silent and still. Sometimes a ghostly figure, the captain, holds out a sealed letter, begging the living to deliver it to his long-dead wife. To accept it is to invite doom. To refuse is to be spared, but never to forget. This phantom was not evil, but tragic, a monument to human hubris punished by eternity. Though fictional, the Flying Dutchman has been seen countless times. These sightings, often recorded in ship logs or sailors' memoirs, lent eerie credibility to the myth. One of the most famous occurred in 1881 aboard HMS Bacchante, a British Royal Navy frigate. On July 11th, while sailing between Australia and South Africa, several officers, including a young Prince George, later King George V, reported seeing a glowing ship with blood-red sails approaching at impossible speed. It vanished before their eyes. The sighting was logged officially, though skeptics later attributed it to atmospheric refraction. In 1923, off the coast of South Africa, the crew of the SS Pretoria claimed the Flying Dutchman appeared beside them during a storm, its deck lined with silent figures. In 1939, a German submarine crew reported a ghostly galleon emerging from fog near the Cape. Even in the age of radar and satellites, reports persist. Fishermen in the North Sea, cruise passengers in the Caribbean, each claims to have seen a ship that shouldn't be there, moving without engines, vanishing without wake. These accounts, whether misperceptions, hoaxes, or genuine mysteries, keep the legend alive. They transform the Flying Dutchman from folktale into something almost tangible, a shadow in the corner of the world's eye. The Flying Dutchman truly entered global consciousness not through sailors' tales, but through art. In 1843, German composer Richard Wagner premiered his opera Der Fliegende Holländer. Inspired by a stormy sea voyage of his own, Wagner reimagined the legend as a tale of redemption. The cursed captain may find salvation only if a woman proves her love is true. In Wagner's version, the Dutchman is not a villain, but a suffering soul, noble, tormented, yearning for peace. The opera was a sensation. Its brooding overture, with crashing chords and mournful horns, became the sonic embodiment of the phantom ship. For generations, audiences wept for the Dutchman, and the myth gained emotional depth. In literature, the Flying Dutchman appeared in works by Edward Fitzgerald, Walter Scott, and Jules Verne. In the 20th century, he sailed into comics, radio dramas, and television. But his greatest modern revival came in 2003 with Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Here, Captain Davy Jones, keeper of souls lost at sea, commands a nightmarish version of the Flying Dutchman, its hull grown with barnacles and sea life, crew transformed into aquatic monsters. This version strayed far from the original legend, yet it introduced the Phantom to millions. Today, the Flying Dutchman is as likely to be recognized from Johnny Depp's films as from Wagner's music. And still, the core remains, a ship that cannot stop, a man who cannot rest, a warning to all who believe they can outrun fate. Is there truth beneath the terror? Modern science offers plausible explanations for many sightings. The most compelling is the Fata Morgana, a complex mirage caused by temperature inversions over cold water. Light bends, distorting distant ships or icebergs into towering, ghostly apparitions that seem to float in air or sail upside down. Such mirages are common near the Cape of Good Hope and the Arctic, precisely where many Flying Dutchman sightings occur. Other explanations include St. Elmo's fire, an electrical glow on a mast during storms mistaken for ghostly lanterns. Sleep deprivation. Sailors on long watches often hallucinate. Bioluminescence. Glowing plankton can make a ship's wake appear supernatural. Yet even with these explanations, something lingers. The Flying Dutchman endures not because people believe in ghosts, but because the sea itself feels haunted. In the vast empty ocean, where horizon meets sky and time loses meaning, it is easy to imagine a ship that sails on forever. The Flying Dutchman was never real. But in another sense, it is more real than any ship that ever floated. It is the embodiment of every sailor's fear. To be lost, to be forgotten, to strive endlessly without reward. It is the shadow of ambition unchecked, of pride that defies the natural order. In the 17th century, it warned Dutch captains not to tempt the Cape. In the 19th, it became a metaphor for romantic longing and existential despair. Today, it speaks to our anxiety about progress without purpose, motion without meaning. Unlike real ships, scrapped, sunk, or preserved in museums, the Flying Dutchman cannot be contained. He belongs to the wind, the waves, and the human imagination. He appears not where he is, but where he is needed, as caution, as comfort, as mystery. And so, as you listen to the gentle lap of waves against a distant shore, remember, somewhere in the mist between worlds, a ghost ship sails on. Her captain still seeks port. Her crew still hopes. And the sea, vast and ancient, keeps their secret forever